My name is Matt Flinders and I'm the Director of the Sir Bernard Crick Centre for the Public Understanding of Politics here at the University of Sheffield. Today is a really exciting day because we have a House of Commons Select Committee coming to the university, coming to Sheffield to talk about public engagement through voting and through lots of other ways of engaging and expressing political voice. It's the Political and Constitutional Reform Select Committee. They're coming up to look at electoral engagement and really to try and understand what's going on. And what's really important for me and for the Crick Centre is that the Crick Centre is all about forging these links of getting politicians into new arenas where they can meet and spend time with the public, so the public can understand about politics, and politicians increasingly they can learn about the public and what the public want and why there seems to be this disconnect. So today what we're really doing is we're combining two very different but also at the same time related events. We've got a drop-in session where MPs will mingle and chat around tables and over lunch about the challenges of engagement with young people, old people, people from across South Yorkshire and the Humberside. After that, we'll move into a more formal parliamentary evidence session. We'll have stenographers, we'll have the clerks, we'll have a traditional circle, we'll have witnesses, we'll have people from the council, we'll have academics, we'll have young people, we'll have local community groups, we'll have the electoral officers that are charged with trying to make people turn out and vote. This is real politics. This is life as it happens. And the Crick Centre is about bridging these boundaries and bringing people together in new ways.
Morning all.
Morning.
I'm Graham Allen, Member of Parliament for Nottingham North, and I chair the Political and Constitutional Reform Select Committee.
So is there a problem with political engagement?
I think people see a problem with voter engagement and the number of people who turn out. Actually, that's a symptom. That's not the problem. It's a symptom of a deeper problem, which is engagement with the political process. People are less involved now than they used to be with political parties, with local activism, with single issue groups. And I think we need to rebuild our political structures. And so what we're doing today here in Sheffield is actually listening to some people, taking expert evidence later on, and seeing if there are things that we can suggest to government. Doesn't mean government will listen, but if we can suggest them as an all-party select committee to improve not just voter engagement in the sense of going to the ballot box, but actually public and citizens' engagement with the whole political process. It's their society, it's their country, and they need to take a much bigger stake and ownership in it than is currently the case.
But what's distinctive about the UK? Is this a global problem, or is it something about our political system?
You've got to work where you are, and I think we can do way better. And if you look around the world, I think other democracies are much more fit for purpose than we are. We rely on a democratic culture rather than democratic structure. If I had to choose between one or the other, I'd take the culture. It's good that we feel we're part of a democracy. It's good that people look out and say we are actually a thriving Western democracy. But in reality, you know, if you sat down and wrote what we've got, a second chamber that's not elected, executive, the chief executive of our country, unlike many others, not directly elected by the people. We don't trust the people to do that. Members of Parliament who follow my leader and encourage not to think, and media obviously, who constantly drip feed and undermine and corrode any political trust. Those are very unfortunate things in our democracy, and we need to do something about it to make our democracy fit for purpose. Only then will people start to take a real interest. And probably one of my favourites is independence in local government. Local government is the agent and the servant of Whitehall. If we can return power, seize power for the localities and let them run their own budget, run their own electoral systems, run their own decision making, then I think you'll start to redevelop those grassroots from which the national level will benefit immensely as well.
Was Bernard Crick correct about the importance of citizenship education to underpin and promote why voting matters?
Well, I think Bernard Crick, and having read Bernard Crick as a student, was a fantastic figure and somebody who gave that push that was needed at that point on citizenship. We now need to reinvigorate that and get the momentum back. And that can be a lot of things. It can be the PSHE that's out there at the moment, which itself is often very formulaic and not really delving deeply enough. In my other hat, I believe very strongly in early intervention, helping babies, children and young people develop their social and emotional capability. So much of that runs over into the Crick agenda on citizenship, how you build a rounded, capable person, give them social and emotional interactivity, which stands them in great stead for the rest of their life. I would like to see all those things in the curriculum, and if you go to a place like Sweden, they don't start teaching the kids academic stuff until they're about 8 or 9, and the same with Finland and places that are top of the academic attainment league.
So we know the problem, but what do you think needs to be done?
I think there are a lot of things that we can do. I think there is an agenda there to bring those people back, and I don't want to preempt anything that's going to be in my report, but I think if we had a freer and more diverse media, if we had independent local government which fed those grassroots, was creative and had lots of a plurality of answers, and we let that spirit be liberated in the localities rather than being risk averse and jobs worth and waiting for the centre to tell people what to do, as many of our fellow democracies in the Western world do. I think those are just two things that would inspire people and get people involved and refresh our political system. If we had people who, if we did have citizenship education, understood the rules of our democracy, had the written constitution in their back pocket to actually say what the difference is between Parliament and between government and Parliament. If we had that degree of political literacy that I think should be commonplace in our society, I would be very optimistic that we could make the changes. But at the moment, we have parties clustering into the middle ground, afraid of their own shadow, afraid of what tomorrow's newspapers might say about them, rather than being led by belief and ideology and vision, so that people actually understand what you stand for. I probably fight anybody for the prize of the person who didn't like Mrs. Thatcher most. But what she did do, she restored political primacy. You knew where you stood with her, and it was love or hate for many people, I know. But it was really clear. The poll stars that led her in a particular direction were really clear. And I think that's the way we should try to conduct our politics in future, so that party leaders are seen out there to stand for stuff, whatever the misrepresentation is that comes through the daily newspapers and the rest of it. That way, I think people will say, don't always agree with so-and-so, but by and large, I know what they stand for, and by and large, I will go with them at the next election. That will inspire people to come back into politics.